Go watch a special called The Levees Broke that Spike Lee did. Go watch a bunch of shit to understand this is not just some, yo, Katrina happened. Nigga said, nah, nigga, my city is gone, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So your request was not uncalled for, even though you got an advance. It was a catastrophic situation that happened.
Brother, that's how I felt about it. I was like, say, bro, you just gave me an advance, but this situation, I just not to soften it up. But I don't think he understood the detrimental situation of Katrina at the moment. You dig? Because when I told him to help me, he basically told me to get on the road. He was like, you better get on the road. Like, get on the road? I ain't got no home to go to.
Yeah.
Where
am I?
It's outside the wall, so I'm telling you, it's not easy to be where I'm at now. But
you got past the moat with the alligators.
Yes, man, and that's not easy. I've been through it all in this game, from being blackballed, talked about, said I couldn't rap, said I couldn't do this and shit like that. And I never let nothing discourage me because I know what I wanted to do and where I needed to go. Plus, I knew that there was nowhere else in this world that I could figure out how to make $1 like this game.
Said that, you know, there's nothing that this shit could show me that I ain't seen a million times, man. And sometimes you just gotta run through it, man. Fuck what people say. Embrace failure. And 2, 3, 4 losses that I had, that shit gave me the fire to come back and learned a lot about me. You have to learn from your failures and stay consistent. That's it. When people know what to look for you because you're constantly doing it, that's when you win. And that's what I'm all about.
I want to rent it. And I said, okay, fine. Right? He's been saying this for since October. And he keeps trying to build it, but he won't sign the lease. He's like, I don't like these terms. I want 6 months of build out and ridiculous bullshit. We also have a partnership agreement where half of what he's building now, his media, belongs to us. But he won't tell us how much he's making and doing all these things. So half of the content he's creating, if you want to buy that too, I'll sell you half the company. He's not a business. He's insane. To me, it's worth very little to nothing. But if it works out for you, I just throw that in as a sweetener. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is he signed a lease with me. Right now he owes, I'm going to say it in a short way, at least $80,000, if not $180,000. The monthly rent on the old lease.
Say this, man. Beefing with 50 is good business. Numbers is up, podcast is up, engagement is up. Beefing with 50, I wish I would have known this a long time ago. We could go a couple more rounds.
No way.
100%. But he said he wanted to buy half the podcast. Now I'm saying if you want to buy half the podcast, I'm the person you need to see about that. Mm-hmm. I'm the guy you got to see about that.
I mean, do you think he was being facetious or was he?
He said he don't cap. He said he don't cap, so I should be receiving a phone call, right? Saying, yo, what's up with this podcast? Beefing with 50, beefing with Curtis, it's good business.
Oh my goodness.
We're not making our podcast not going, we don't talk about people. We take things and internalize it. But at the same time, I'm not trying to walk nothing down. Like if it's smoke, it's smoke.
All right, man.
If you shooting and you saying they and these guys and you got a picture and I'm in a picture, I'm shooting back and it's with whoever. Okay. It's with whoever, whenever, however. We know. Whatever.
We know.
Capo. Yeah. We out here squatting.
50 Cent publicly saying he would buy the Jim Jones and Maino podcast instantly changed the entire mood. This was not said as a joke, not delivered with sarcasm, and not thrown out like one of his usual quick shots. Came off as a clear power move, a loud reminder of money, influence, and control. That is exactly why it landed so hard. When Cameron reacted, it added another layer to the situation. Because Cam is not just offering commentary. He is deeply connected to Dipset history, personally tied to Jim Jones, and aware of how alliances in this culture are built and broken over time. What started as a moment quickly became much bigger than a simple exchange and began touching real nerves. It turned into a serious conversation about respect, pride, ownership, and how far public conflict should go once money enters the picture. 50 Cent has always known how to apply pressure with words. By saying he would buy the podcast, he was not just talking about owning a show. He was talking about control over the platform, the conversation, and the narrative itself. In hip-hop, where independence is worn like a badge of honor, a statement like that hits differently. It sends a message that something built with years of work and effort can still be challenged, purchased, or controlled if the price is right. That is why the reaction was so strong and why Cam's response carried real weight. Cameron's reaction was not about surprise. Came from experience. He has been around long enough to know when something is said for laughs and when it is meant to push boundaries. His tone reflected someone who understands exactly how 50 operates and how these moves usually play out. Cam did not jump straight into insults or reckless shots. Instead, he responded with a mix of disbelief, humor, and a subtle warning. That balance made it clear he understood this was not just entertainment or talk for clicks. It was a message, plain and simple. When someone like 50 makes a statement like that, it forces everyone involved to start thinking about what comes next. Jim Jones and Maino built their podcast as a space where they could speak freely, discuss culture, and share unfiltered opinions, whether people agree with them or not. That platform represents their voices and their control. Even if 50 never had real plans to buy it, the comment alone challenged that idea. It questioned their independence, and that is why many people took it as disrespect. In hip-hop, respect is not about what you say. It is about allowing people to stand on what they built. Cameron has real history with 50 that goes back years. There have been moments of tension, periods of distance, and times where both sides chose silence. That history gave Cam's reaction more weight because he was not responding as a fan or an outsider. He spoke as someone who knows the personalities involved and understands how quickly situations like this can spiral. His response suggested he saw the comment as an unnecessary escalation, even if he understood the reason behind it. This moment also highlights how social media has completely reshaped conflict in hip-hop. Disagreements used to stay private or be expressed through music. Now they unfold in real time through interviews, posts, and comments. 50 Cent has mastered this environment and knows how to keep himself at the center of attention. By speaking on him, Jim Jones and Maino stepped into that space, whether they intended to or not. Once that happens, a response is almost guaranteed. And the reality is, 50 never responds softly. Cam's reaction showed he fully understood that dynamic. He did not treat it like harmless talk. He understood that once money and ownership enter the conversation, the energy shifts immediately. At that point, it stops being about opinions and becomes a status move. In hip-hop culture, saying, "I can buy what you built," is one of the highest forms of disrespect. It does not just challenge success, it questions value. That is why the comment struck such a nerve. Some people believe 50's move was necessary and even predictable. They point out that Jim Jones and Maino spoke on him first, criticized his behavior, and questioned his intentions. From that perspective, 50 responding with force fits his history. He has never been known to stay silent when his name is mentioned. To those supporters, the comment was not bullying. It was a reminder that words have consequences. What made Cameron's reaction so interesting is that he did not fully take either side. He did not praise 50, but he also did not shut him down. Instead, he highlighted how extreme the statement was and how quickly it changed the temperature. His response felt thoughtful rather than impulsive. It came across like Cam was looking at the bigger picture, reading the room, the history, and the potential fallout all at once. The situation also reopened old conversations around Dipset loyalty and long-standing cracks within the crew. Anytime Jim Jones is involved in public conflict, those unresolved stories resurface. Cam reacting pulled that history back into focus and reminded people that nothing in hip-hop exists in a vacuum. Every comment connects to years of shared moments, disagreements, and unfinished business. The idea of buying someone's podcast hit especially hard because podcasts have become one of the last spaces where artists truly control their own voice. Labels, contracts, and platforms have always placed limits on expression, but podcasts feel personal, raw, and owned. When that space is threatened, it can feel like an attack on identity itself. Cameron clearly recognized that, which is why his reaction carried so much weight. There is also the question of whether 50 ever planned to actually buy the podcast. Some see it as pure talk, a flex meant to dominate the moment and steer the conversation. Others believe that even without real intent, the the statement alone crossed a line. In hip-hop, intention matters less than impact. And the impact here was immediate. It shifted the narrative and forced everyone involved to respond. Cameron's reaction acted like a pause button. It slowed things down just enough for people to think instead of rushing straight into insults and chaos. His response added context and perspective, reminding viewers this was more than internet drama or viral clips. These are real people with real history, real pride, and long memories. The tension between 50 Cent, Jim Jones, and Maino shows how quickly situations can escalate when ego, money, and public platforms collide. What began as commentary turned into power statements. Cam stepping in did not end the conflict, but it reframed it. For Jim Jones, the comment challenged his image as a boss and builder. For Maino, it raised questions about role and relevance. And for 50, it reinforced exactly who he has always been in moments like this. Without saying it directly, Cameron's reaction highlighted all of that. He let the moment speak for itself, which made it hit even harder. It also raised larger questions about unity in hip-hop. Instead of conversations leading to understanding, they often turn into division. Every statement becomes a dominance check. And Cam's response hinted at real fatigue with that cycle, even while fully understanding how it works. Even while fully understanding how the game works, this situation is about far more than a podcast. It comes down to pride, power, and the lines people cross when they feel challenged. For some, 50 crossed a boundary. For others, he simply drew one. Cameron's response showed that even those closest to the situation can recognize both sides at the same time. Now the focus shifts to the audience. The people watching have to decide where they stand. Was 50 wrong for saying he would buy the podcast? Or was that just his way of responding to criticism? Was Cameron right to step in, or should he have stayed out of it? There are no easy answers here. What is clear is that this moment will not be remembered for insults, but for what it represented. Ownership versus voice, money versus pride, silence versus response. Cameron's reaction captured that tension and made it impossible to ignore. As the conversation keeps moving, it becomes important to look beyond choosing sides and focus on meaning. This is how hip-hop discussions evolve now: public, loud, and layered. The situation involving 50 Cent, Jim Jones, Maino, and Cameron is bigger than drama. It reflects where the culture currently stands and where it may be heading next. The reactions, debates, and conversations that followed will shape how this moment is remembered. Whether people laugh it off or take it seriously, the impact is already set. Cameron reacting ensured it would not be dismissed as just another internet moment. It became something worth revisiting, breaking down, and debating long after the words were spoken. That is why this situation matters, and why Cam's response added depth to a moment that could have easily been brushed off as noise. Looking deeper, it also highlights how much reputation still matters, even in an era where attention feels like the main currency. 50 Cent has built a reputation where people expect him to strike hard and do it publicly. That history gives weight to his words before anyone even reacts. When he talks about buying a platform, it does not sound random. People hear it through the lens of everything he has done before: years of business moves, public battles, and power plays. That is why the moment landed the way it did. Cameron understood that immediately, which is why his reaction came across calm rather than shocked. He recognized the weight behind the statement before anyone needed to break it down. Reputation works the same way for Jim Jones and Maino. Both have spent years carving out space as respected voices, not artists living off past moments. Their podcast represents growth, relevance, and control over their own narrative. A comment like 50's threatens that image, even if nothing ever follows. Cam reacting showed awareness of how fragile reputation becomes once it is challenged publicly. Sometimes one statement is enough to shake years of work. This moment also proves that personal history never truly stays in the past. Dipset history, old disagreements, and long-standing rivalries sit beneath the surface until something pulls them back into focus. Cameron's reaction carried all of that weight without needing to spell it out. That is something only someone who lived through those moments could do. There is also a lesson here about silence versus response. In many cases, silence is read as weakness. But Cameron showed that a controlled response can be more powerful than a loud one. By speaking just enough to frame the moment without escalating it, he shifted the conversation instead of feeding chaos. And in a culture where escalation often gets rewarded, that restraint stood out. A controlled response can land harder than a loud reaction. Cam spoke just enough to frame the moment without letting it spiral out of control. That decision likely kept the situation from getting uglier than it already was. Instead of adding fuel to the fire, he set boundaries with his words. The audience plays a major role in moments like this as well. Fans amplify tension, choose sides, and push narratives forward. Some people want chaos, others want clarity. Cam's response gave those looking for clarity something solid to hold on to. It slowed the rush toward extremes and reminded everyone that context still matters. Not every comment has to turn into a full-blown war when someone steps back and reframes it. Another important factor is how business language instantly changes the emotional tone of conflict. Insults can fade and jokes can be brushed off. But once money enters the conversation, everything becomes serious. Buying something means control. Control means power. And power reshapes relationships. Cam recognized that shift immediately, which is why he treated the comment differently than a standard diss. This also highlights how artists today have to protect more than just their image. They have to safeguard platforms, partnerships, and long-term plans. Jim Jones and Maino were not just defending pride. They were defending a business they built. Cam's reaction showed respect for that reality and made it clear he understood what was truly at stake. At the same time, 50's approach reflects how he understands power. From his perspective, dominance prevents challenges. Responding softly invites more talk, while responding aggressively shuts it down. Whether people agree or not, that mindset has shaped his entire career. Cam's reaction did not reject that logic, but it also did not fully support it. He acknowledged it without co-signing it, and that balance is exactly what made his response stand out. This situation also shows how quickly entertainment can turn into real pressure. What begins as content can become personal stress almost instantly. Public attention, constant judgment, and non-stop reactions make every word carry more weight. Cam responding with control showed he understands that pressure. As the conversation continues, people will keep returning to this moment because it raises real questions. Who owns the conversation? Who controls the space? How should power be used? Those questions go beyond the individuals involved and speak to the culture as a whole. This moment also highlights how power is measured differently today than it was years ago. It once came from hit records, street reputation, or label influence. Now, power also comes from platforms, audiences, and the ability to shape online conversation. When 50 talked about buying the podcast, he was tapping directly into that modern form of power. He was reminding everyone that visibility and reach can be owned, just like music catalogs and businesses. Cam's reaction showed he clearly understands that shift, which is why he did not dismiss the comment as empty talk or random noise. Cam has always valued ownership and control over his work. Throughout his career, he has spoken openly about business independence and protecting artists from being taken advantage of. That background adds another layer to why his response carried real weight. That weight mattered. Cam was not reacting simply as Jim Jones's friend or as a longtime rival of 50. He was responding as someone who understands what it means to build something from the ground up and how threatening it feels when another person publicly suggests they can take it from you. There is also a clear generational layer to this situation. 50 Cent comes from an era where public dominance was part of survival. You could not afford to look weak, quiet, or uncertain. Every response had to be sharp, direct, and decisive. Jim Jones and Maino operate in a different space today. Conversation, commentary, and platforms are now part of the brand. That difference in approach is exactly why this moment landed the way it did. Two worlds collided, and Cameron stood right in the middle, reacting in a way that showed he understands both eras. His response reflected old-school survival instincts and a modern, platform-driven mindset at the same time. Another important element was how quickly fans picked sides. Some immediately praised 50, calling it a boss move and saying he put everyone in their place. Others felt the comment was unnecessary and disrespectful, especially toward people who helped build the culture. Cam's reaction created space for a middle ground. It allowed people to acknowledge the power of the statement without pretending it was harmless. That balance mattered more than loud cheering or instant outrage. The response also showed real restraint, something rare in moments like this. Cam did not escalate with threats or insults, and he did not add extra chaos. He let the weight of 50's words speak for themselves. That approach made his reaction more effective because it did not distract from the real issue. It focused attention exactly where it needed to be, and that is why it landed so clean. This situation is a reminder that not every response has to be louder than the last. In a culture where escalation often gets rewarded with views and clicks, Cameron choosing a calmer approach stood out. It showed maturity, awareness, and control. That decision also shifted how many people viewed the situation surrounding Jim Jones. This moment is about legacy as well. Jim Jones has spent years reshaping his image, moving from artist to executive to media voice. A statement like 50's challenges that progress publicly, even if nothing ever follows. The comment alone forces Jim to defend his position, and Cam stepping in signaled support without turning the situation into a full-blown war. Maino's role should not be overlooked either. Known for speaking openly and honestly, he has built a reputation for saying what others won't. That honesty earns respect, but it also invites strong reactions, especially in moments like this. If you want more real breakdowns like this, make sure you subscribe to DripZ right now. Share this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, hit the like button, and don't forget to support the channel. Thanks for watching.